Despite the cold, hundreds of Greenlanders have gathered in the capital, Nuuk. They expect to march to the US consulate in the suburbs. They are protesting against Trump, who wants to annex their country. Last week he said he would take over the country, and he believes Greenland will join the United States.
Well, the protests you all witnessed occurred prior to Vance's arrival in Greenland, which was in accordance with Trump's request to display the US flag. Shortly thereafter, Vance quickly departed. Literally with his tail between his legs, literally. Look at how he was greeted. There you have some of the pictures you're going to see. There it is. With the comforting welcome banners that proudly displayed, "Yankee go home." They received JD Vance, the Vice President of the United States, and his wife. What a warm visit in Greenland. Because of course they went without an invitation, and then all the doors were closed to them. They had to cancel even an impromptu tour they wanted to do because nobody wanted to receive them, and in the end the only thing left was to go to their own military base, which I don't know why the Greenlanders continue to allow them to go to their own military base. I don't know why the Greenlanders continue to allow the US to have bases there. It must be because they don't want to leave by hook or by crook. But they are not welcome. And not only that, there were these banners, protests, threats, riots. A very clear message that nobody wants them, they are not welcome, they see them as a threat. But the height of JD Vance's speech, look at what he says about Greenland and the reason why he claims. He goes, "It reminded me a lot of those YouTubers who then say, a video they had been asking me for a long time, no one asked
Hello
them
everyone,
for anything."
I am JD Vance, the Vice President. Due to the high level of interest in USHA's visit to Greenland this Friday, I have decided to join the delegation. My purpose is to pay a visit to some of our Space Force guards stationed on the northwest coast and assess the country's security situation. We must all be aware of the extreme importance of this task, as several nations have posed threats to Greenland in an attempt to exploit its terrain and waterways as means to menace the United States.
Well, let's see. Let me pause here. Several countries have been threatening Greenland. I know of only one country that is the only one that keeps threatening Greenland, and that's this guy's country. Nobody else. Well, the US doesn't threaten Greenland, it's Donald Trump. And of course, his vice president, who has gotten this obsession, but I don't know of anyone. You tell me who has threatened to invade Greenland, China, Russia? The only thing that has done it is Donald Trump.
Canada, and undoubtedly the citizens of Greenland. Consequently, we will evaluate the current state of affairs in the region, acting on behalf of President Trump. Our objective is to fortify security measures and safeguard the welfare of the people of Greenland, while simultaneously upholding global security. It is a regrettable circumstance that both the United States and Denmark have long disregarded Greenland, as this has undoubtedly had detrimental consequences for the island and has impacted global security in one way or another. And we believe it is possible to change this situation, and we will work on that.
Only JD Vance himself believes in his speech, and I'm not even confident about that. Maybe even Trump doesn't believe JD Vance. More, he says that several countries have been threatening Greenland. I only know about the USA. It is the only one that keeps threatening them. It doesn't make any sense. He says, well, Greenland needs the US. Greenland doesn't need the US. Let's see. That's how they received it. That's the warm welcome from the Greenlanders to the Vice President of the United States. That's the way it is. Of course, it's very humiliating. USA. Is Well, at the moment, under the command of Donald Trump, makes no friends. He makes enemies every day. Veronica Lara says here on Facebook, what happened? They did not receive it. No, the problem was that they did receive it, my friend Veronica. The thing is, how they received it, in a humiliating way. Greenland, as you know, many people think it is a piece of ice, but it is very important. It is a very small place. And now you see what we are seeing here. The most pathetic thing about JD Vance's visit is that, well, it was not a logistical error. It was not a poorly coordinated agenda. No, this was arrogance at its purest. JD Vance thought that he was going to be received at the airport with a retinue of honor. Again, Trump thinking he's the emperor, sending people to foreign territories as if he could impose his presence with pure symbolic power and then expect a red carpet to be rolled out for him. For Greenlanders, this was not a diplomatic visit. This was a provocation, a threat. It was like saying, look what we're going to control. I've come to see my new plot of land and to see where we are going to build the new sea to water in Greenland. They took it as an insult. And in the meantime, JD Vance was going to walk around the military base of Pituffik, which we have already talked about it with his wife, Usha Vance. His wife, Usha Vance, who, by the way, is the daughter of Indian immigrants. And I find it ironic that an administration that is anti-immigrant, the president and vice president are married to immigrants, and their children are children of immigrants. But well, back to the JD Vance issue, who said that apart from the US base, he was going to visit various local communities, as if he was really going to win the hearts of Greenlanders with a smile and a greeting, with a smile and a wave. You want me to tell you how this turned out? It didn't work. Instead of welcoming them with tea and flags, they were met with this, and then had to cancel. What was he going to? Is to remind him of all his ancestors. He had to cancel. Nobody wanted to open the door. And this is not a metaphor. And this is not a metaphor. They went house to house looking for someone willing to receive the Vice President JD Vance and his wife. And they were left with doors slamming in their faces. They did not find a single Greenlandic family. They did not find a single one, because if they had, they would have broadcasted on national TV that moment when JD Vance sporadically knocks on the door. A family opens the door and says, Mr. Vance, save us. The arrival of aliens is imminent, and you possess the exclusive ability, yet alas, the outcome remains uncertain. There is no such threat. I mean, this sense of danger that JD Vance and Donald Trump want to create doesn't exist. The only danger is precisely the one he represents on that island. That's the one that Greenlanders perceive. That's why they had to cancel the visit. A convoy was to be mobilized through Nuuk, and it was returned. To the military planes, they didn't even get to pose for the picture. And all of that because while Washington continued to sell this narrative that the people in Greenland were exceptionally enthusiastic about JD Vance's visit and eagerly desired the Vice President of the United States to be present with them for the occasion. What a laugh. There you have it. Thus, the warm reception, in fact, what they said from Nuuk was just the opposite, that nobody invited them. That because they were there, they went to make massive demonstrations. For what? Well, to show their rejection, their annoyance at this unexpected and unwanted visit. They are not welcome there. In other words, how did we get to this level of absurdity? Well, it's very easy. It has a name and a last name, Donald Trump. And now also JD Vance, who are still obsessed with invading Greenland. Already in Trump's previous term, so Trump's previous term had flirted with that idea, but now it's back in a more warlike form. One that is worrying all of Europe. Supposedly, the United States says it needs Greenland to defend the world. No? Well, I don't need you to defend me from the world. The world needs to defend itself from you. The way things are going, then it's delusional. Says, Donald Trump that the United States needs Greenland because if it doesn't have it, it can't do us the favor of giving security to the planet. And that's the justification. You know what's the worst of it? That there are Republican senators who keep repeating that speech like trained parrots and nobody believes it. I was listening to, just a few days ago, I was reading these statements from Tommy Tuberville, who, by the way, was once the same senator who said that the army should have more religion than training. And now he comes out that Trump is doing the right thing, putting the pressure on Greenland, and that it should be invaded. It should be invaded. That the Panama Canal and Greenland, well, he should go ahead. To invade both maritime routes, it is cynical, my friends, what we are seeing here, which is aggressive, of course. How Denmark and Europe are taking it. Well, they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Even the Prime Minister from Denmark is named Frederiksen, who was very clear, she said. This created unacceptable pressure, especially when nobody invited him. And then she finished it off by saying Greenland belongs to the Greenlanders, period. There's nothing to discuss. But of course, Trump doesn't listen to that. He hears what he wants to hear. He just sees that there are resources available that he can plunder, that there is a geostrategic position that Russia and China, well, they would like too, but that is not why they are threatening to invade them. Look at the bread and wine. I do not know so far. That there is another power in the world that is openly saying that it wants to invade them. Therefore, it's understandable that they feel an excessive amount of pressure, very much in agreement with what the authorities in both Denmark and Greenland, and watch out for this, because this US pressure is not only provoking rejection in Greenland, it is also unifying the European Union again. The European Union and also the Greenlanders. 4 of the 5 parties that won seats in the local parliament have formed a coalition already. He formed precisely a coalition already to resist Trump's intentions, i.e. an anti-Trump bloc is being formed to prepare for any scenario, including, in order to anticipate any situation, Europe itself is increasingly making preparations for the potential invasion by Donald Trump. However, a major challenge they face is that they already have an existing military base in the region, and they are sending more troops. And now get them out. We had a small problem in Veracruz. The resulting text has 42 characters. Only there they are not called Donald Trump, they are called the 400 towns. Then they arrive. They invade a vacant lot and let's get them out. I'll take care of it once they get in. We say to them, you can't take them out anymore. They already have their military base there. They are not going to leave, at least not by force. On the contrary, they are sending more troops. And that's where the most dangerous part comes in. Because while all this is going on, well, Trump continues with his rhetoric of restoring greatness, of protecting the free world, blah, blah, blah. But what we see in reality is something else. Isolation, global rejection, and nobody wants them, of course, because of this arrogant attitude. There is no cooperation anymore. There is no respect. What there is an attempt to impose, and the response to that is contempt. There is an obsession. There is an obsession to leave a mark on the map, even if it means despising those who used to be Washington's great allies, to restore manifest destiny. And what Trump dreams of is changing the map of the United States and adding a piece of something to it, whether it's a piece of Panama, whether it's a piece of Denmark, whether it's a piece or Canada altogether, or all of it together. That's why it's getting so very, very dangerous, this administration that is taking an unbelievable turn. So unbelievable. Unbelievable, by the way. For a change, let me tell you something. Because this is not just about this, but we already discussed it this morning. Not only Canada, but also Greenland is experiencing the same pressure. Likewise, Greenland continuously faces the pressure. Pressure as well as Greenland. This constant threat of invasion, even though JD Vance has not come here, but with the words of Donald Trump, well, that's enough. As we were just saying, just this morning, he has just applied tariffs to the automotive industry. And this is once again arousing Canada's fury. And well, the reactions to the unification Carlos Ramirez sends greetings from Veracruz and expresses his appreciation for the accurate information. He mentions that they are eagerly awaiting the summaries and extends his thanks to his friend. Carlos also sends greetings to Licanares. To Guadalajara, Jalisco, greetings to Giel, it says here. Almost all of us hate those who feel superior in general. No, of course, I mean, no one can come with such an arrogant attitude to your house to say, hey, I'm going to invade you. And he goes around saying, I am going to invade you, I am going to invade you. And then you see him coming into your garden. Hey, what are you doing here? Who invited you? No, nothing. I came to see how my new lands are going to be. Well, that's a provocation. How do you expect to be received with flowers? Well, that's not going to happen. And that little speech JD Vance made, that he is in Greenland because he heard that many people threaten Greenland. The only thing I have heard that threatens Greenland is them. We come here to, it sounds to me like a right to the floor, like in Mexico, when they come to say, you have to give me so much for your protection. Protect me from whom? Well, from me. Because if you don't pay me, I'll be a wild one. Be careful with that, friends. Watch out for this new policy of fiero pariente, because it is becoming more dangerous than ever. Thank you very much for connecting to our streaming, and see you in the next one.